Hi there, so what we're going to have a look at is the human nervous system. So how it's built up and what its jobs are. So that's led us to this catchy title that is structure and functioning of the human nervous system. Let's say you're doing a science experiment and you reach for your pencil case but you don't notice there's a Bunsen burner. You should notice because it should be on safety flame, but let's say that you've not noticed and your arm goes across the Bunsen burner flame. The stimulus is the hot flame. What's going to happen is you're going to move the arm out of the way. Pain being the most important sense in my books, it's the sense that stops you from bleeding to death. Okay, so what happens is the hot flame is the stimulus, the receptor are the skin cells. Okay, a message is sent from the skin cells to the brain and spinal cord. The brain and spinal cord sends a message to the arm muscles and says you better move your arm out of the way because you're going to burn yourself, and you move your arm out of the way. So in terms of looking at this process, after the stimulus there's this receptor and that passes information along some cells known as neurons, and we'll look at those in more detail in a second. The information is passed as a series of electrical impulses, and that is sent to the central nervous system. Now, the central nervous system is the thing that coordinates everything, and that is the brain and spinal cord. So it's your brain and spinal cord that coordinates these messages. Now, something I need to point out is when you sneeze, you don't consciously have to think about that in your brain. Okay? Lots of reflex reactions do not involve conscious thinking. They don't involve the conscious part of the brain. So it's okay to say that if it's an automatic reflex reaction, for example sneezing, okay, then it's just the spinal cord that's used because a rapid response is required and no thinking is required for that. So let's have a look at how these cells known as neurons work. So we talked about the receptor, so you put your arm in the Bunsen burner, the receptor sends an electrical impulse to something that's known as this relay neuron in the middle. Okay, now the relay neuron is connected to the motor neuron. The job of the relay neuron is to connect the sensory neuron to the motor neuron. Motor means movement, so the motor neuron is the thing that causes the arm to move out of the way. So, as part of stimulus, receptor, coordinated effect response, it goes sensory neuron, so sensing the danger, relaying that information, and motor neuron, which is movement. At each point, the electrical impulses are transmitted across each neuron and it has to jump across a gap known as a synapse. Now, synapses are important. They are the things that mean that the messages only travel one way. Okay? In terms of how that works, let's say you transmit a message from sensory to relay. What happens is when it reaches the end of the sensory neuron, neurotransmitters are transmitted across to the receptor sites on the relay, and that ensures that messages are one way only. That is how reflexes work.